Second, once I have the system, and this is why I go back to what I said before, you come to the clinic to maybe pick up one or two details, maybe an exercise, maybe a set play, maybe a teaching tool that you pick up in order to implement that in your system and make your system better. But maybe you go to listen to somebody who tells you something that you already know or that you feel is good for your culture, so you put it on the shelf, but you don't want to mess it up with your system. If you feel I'm not clear enough, just raise your hand and I go over again. After this, when you have the system, you have to develop your teaching method. To develop your teaching method is exactly like in school. You need to be able to start from the basic and create for your players steps that they're not too much challenging, because otherwise they will not be able to make the step. Okay, they will fall down every time. And at the same time, they should not be too easy for them so that they are not challenging in trying to learn. It's exactly like my 4-year-old kid. If he finds a step too high, he gives it up. He says, I don't care. I can make it. And he turns the back. If it's too easy, he goes pop, 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 and he does not learn anything. So your ability, my ability as a teacher, is to give the player such a step that is challenging for him, but sooner or later he will make the step and go to the next level and go to the next level. If I offer my player a complicated drill that he cannot understand or he cannot execute, he will get frustrated. If I go always with too easy things, he will get spoiled, he will think he's much better than everybody else, and he will not progress. So the key is give them a challenge that they can copy with. They can stay under the challenge and improve, and improve. Another part of the teaching system, of the teaching method, is that all of us, we use try and error. You want the players to try, to make mistakes, and learn from that, okay? So the thing is, are you ready to accept new mistakes or not? And I am speaking about this because I know the theory, but I'm not very good in reality. I have a very limited amount of patience. So I know this is my problem. I know I have to work on this. I have to get better. But talking about the theory, what level of mistakes we are ready to accept? A limited level, a high level? We can stay under repetition and repetition of mistakes. That's something that we have to work on and understand. Because if we are not good, it's better that we do not ask for trying and making more mistakes. So limit yourself. Go simple. The more you complicate the instruction, the more mistakes will be committed. So you need to understand if you're good enough to accept it, tolerate it, and keep teaching, or you just mess it up and you punch them like I did the other day and broke my hand. I'm joking, huh? Okay, don't put it on NBA TV, please, okay? So, or I insist, if you're ready to tolerate and go on, tolerate and go on. So this is again everything related to you as a coach. We are not even talking about the players yet. The players are there and they're waiting for us. I think we have to do this preparation job before we take the court, so that we know what we are going to say, what we expect in terms of mistakes, what we expect in terms of correction that we have to make, what we expect in terms of time that we need to get better. It's a long process. You can go from a game where you limit their options, so you can control a lot, or you can lead them to a level where they can see and react to the different situations. So if you want them one day to be able to play a lot through reading, seeing what happened on the floor, seeing what the defense is offering them, and react to those situations, like them playing like robots, okay, you need to understand that this is a very long process, and that you can limit the options in everything, in the offense, in defense, or you can expand the numbers of options. Is it clear what I tried to say to you? Okay? It's exactly like with the kids. Nobody starts already able to see and react to a large number of situations. Okay? You can improve that, but it takes time. So if you don't want to mess up with a lot of frustration or with a lot of time or with a lot of, let's say, difficulties, probably sometimes you need to limit the number of options that you give to the players. Saying, if you, in your drill, on your game or whatever, you have designed a situation where the player can go from here to there with the ball, after 2 times the defense will try to prevent him from going from here to there. So, as you all know, in this situation he can do a lot of things. He can pass right, he can pass left, he can stop and shoot, he can pass right and go left, pass right and go right. You all know, lot of options. But this is not only based on what he does, it's also based on what the other teammates do. So he needs to be responsible in his reading on himself and what the other players do. So if you limit the options, it becomes easier for the player. The more freedom you give to the player, the more is requested to combine self-discipline and aggressiveness in reacting to the different situation on the court. And this is the most difficult part in any sport, not only in basketball, because it requires the ability in the player to read the situation, have the tools to react to this situation, because if I cannot dribble, pass, and shoot, I will be limited in my reading and reacting, okay? It involves also the ability to discipline myself in order to favor a teammate that maybe is cutting at the same time. It involves unselfishness, because rather than shooting, sometimes I can find an open man who has a better shot from me. It's a lot of things. If you make a simple game, limiting the option, all this becomes more simple. If you want to get to a point that your players will interpret the game more, you need to go through this process. That the reading and the reaction is not so easy. Also because the better the players are, the more they will like to feel free. Otherwise, they will feel that you catch them from the neck and you want to drive them, you know, like in a PlayStation. You don't want this. But at the same time, one more time, what the players feel is not always what the coach sees. And we have to get to a point that we see things in the same way in order to progress. Okay. Once I said that, I would like to go a little bit more on the topic of the day. I believe that the player can improve in 3 different directions. He can improve mentally, and when I mean mentally, I mean he can improve his self-confidence, his ability to play under pressure, his ability to play simple under pressure without complicating the game. The player can improve physically. He can become faster, he can jump higher, he might become stronger, he might get better balance because he knows how to bend his legs and how to use his body in order to get the position. And the player can improve technically because he learns a move, because he improves the execution of his shot, because he understands better the game and he knows where to go and when to go better than before. I believe that the 3 improvements are most of the time interacting one with the other. I give you a very simple example. Sometimes you see a young player that is executing some low post move without defense. And you see him catching, and you see he's moving, boom, turning and shooting. Then you put the defender on him, and the simple fact that the guy is pushing him, okay, makes this kid that before was executing everything well with no defense, now every time he receives the contact, he straightens up his leg, he gets off balance, and he cannot use his moves that will look very good 2 seconds before. So until this kid does not become stronger, but does not become capable to leave the physical pressure, to absorb the contact before using his dribble, all his technical ability will be meaningless.